generative AI, I think we all probably realize, is a breakthrough technology. I mean, the fact that it can autonomously create new content, learning from data like text and images to craft original material, it does so much more than traditional AI, which historically has been bound by very tight rules in its system. So it unleashes creativity. Generative AI operates without rigid constraints, using learned patterns to generate coherent content, tapping into that vast data that it's learnt on, identifying patterns and sparking really unexpected creativity. But we've got to watch out. It's not all roses. AI can hallucinate. And by that, I mean sometimes generative AI produces nonsensical outputs, perceiving non existent patterns in the data it's learnt on. So, we as users of these tools have got to monitor them very carefully. Otherwise, we could be in danger of misinformation or other negative consequences. So the way I think about it is I think of AI as like a junior team member, someone who's quick to learn and eager to help, but requires guidance and most importantly requires my oversight as a manager to ensure quality and the relevance of that individual team member's contributions. So think of it like a junior member of staff, if you like. But there's another term that's probably worth mentioning as well, large language models. It's just one of the tools in the generative AI toolbox. Large language models, a term you'll hear a lot about, specialized tool in text. And tools that use that are probably all familiar to you, ChatGPT, CoPilot, Gemini. They're not the only games in town. They all use large language models, and there is many more out there. And if you need to do a little bit of research to just see what tools are out there, I can recommend a site called There's an AI for that. But like anything, be careful. Don't just download it, review it, look at its provenance, look at its reputation. Be careful and think about security as well. Okay. So generative AI on the PMO. Look, it's going to add value. Seamless integration, 30% of project management tasks slashing data processing time is what they're saying at the moment. Business transformation, it's turning project management into a predictive powerhouse, a real asset to us all. And of course, it's a time saver. The Harvard Business Review, I think when I read, states that AI can save up to 20 hours weekly for project managers. Task initiation as well. Forbes surveys indicate AI can cut project planning time by up to 40%. And of course, there's custom tools as well. You can build your own AI tools. Let's have a look at the next one. Next slide, please. Yes. So here's a custom built AI tool by a chap called Eric Van Hurek. You may know of him. He's quite a famous PMO blogger. He writes a lot about using planning and project tools like Microsoft Project, but he's built a tool using generative AI that fuels best practice straight to the user. Essentially, it's built on PMI guidance materials. Just imagine that. You want a best practice example, how to do a particular thing, you just ask the tool. Let's move on.
So what's prompt engineering all about? So it is about being able to ask questions and being able to use AI to generate some responses, as it's very basic, really. So it is about being able to learn and practice using it in order to be able to get the best out of it. In today's session, we're going to show you some of the ways that both Adrian and I have been using it for the last over a year now for me, certainly since the latest version of ChatGPT that came out that allowed it to get to the masses. You can also use AI to help you to be able to prompt engineer and to get the most out of it, which is a really brilliant prompt that Adrian's going to share with you that I've been using a lot since he told me all about it. But also being able to use a certain tool. What we want to do in today's session is to show you some of the practicalities as well. So we do have a few sessions today, interactive bits where we've actually pulled together some project documentation, real documentation, business cases, status reports, and being able to have a go at it. So I'll learn together and we'll practice together, but actually have a look at the differences as well between some of these tools, because Adrian's very much using CoPilot and Gemini, whereas I'm using ChatGPT. And what is astounding is the difference that you get as well from these different things. So prompt engineering is a thing. It's a name that they've given to this in terms of being able to craft specific inputs, be able to get the best things out of it. Yeah. So asking it a great question hopefully will give you the kind of insights and prompts back, answers back that you'd like. It is about being able to maximize the chance of the AI model actually giving you something useful and not hallucinating. I love the fact that they brought that word hallucination in,
Yeah.
basically to mean, that you need accurate responses back from it, but also being clear about what it is that you want the AI model to do. So we're just going to just go through some of the key tips, the basics. So you have to be clear and specific when you're using this kind of thing. So instead of being quite generalized about how is the project going, you can ask it more detailed questions. So for example, with ChatGPT especially, you can upload certain project documentation and get it to talk, ask questions of it and be able to give you answers back out of it. So being really clear and specific, obviously, is how we want to phrase a question. We need to give it as much context as we possibly can in order for it to be able to give us back a really accurate answer. We've got to start to break down the complex as well, because again, if we're using this kind of thing in the project management world, we know there's a lot of complexity in everything that we're doing. So for example, with this one, instead of asking it about just generally, the steps for project planning, getting it to go deeper into aspects of project planning, for example, there with the resource allocation and the timeline setups. What is really good is being able to use examples so you can give it things that you want to see that's similar to what you've already got, for example. So you can upload documentation. We're going to show you that as well and just how powerful that can be. We've also got the ability to keep iterating and refining what we're doing, because you don't just take the initial responses of what prompt engineering is giving you and AI is giving you back, but you're also getting it to keep going and just give me more detail. But also crucially, and we were just talking about this earlier, it's actually check your own homework, Chat GPT, and tell me that are you giving me the truthful and the accurate responses here? And also being able to ask it direct questions. So for example, here with a direct question, it's rather than just tell me about project risks, you can actually ask it, what are the top 3 risks for the X project in the next quarter, and it'll be able to do that and generate that from your project status reports. In terms of just some key tips, because this is the thing that's been really crucial for a lot of PMO people, is this ability about, IT departments at the minute not letting people use it because of security and confidentiality. It will change, as that CEO showed in the video. The businesses are talking about it right now. They know that they're going to have to be doing something with it, but what they'll be doing, who knows? But at the same phase, we know that some of the problems that people are having access to this right now will go away at some point. And I think what is important for PMO people is to be at least informed about what this stuff is. And if you're not being able to use it at work, you can be using it obviously privately at home with your families and all that kind of good stuff. However, if you're not able to use it at work right now, it's still on you to be able to understand, well, what is some of this stuff? So at least I'm informed and ready for when our organization is ready. So there is a lot of stuff around the ethics side of it. And if you've not already got some kind of frameworks for this kind of stuff within the PMO, Adrian, can you drop it into chat? There is something from government already that has been really useful for people, and you can see it's really, really recent. You can have a look at that in terms of what generative AI framework you may be putting in place yourself within the PMO. So what we wanted to just do is just start to look at some of the prompt engineering techniques. Adrian, take it away.
Sure. So there are many different techniques to prompt AI. And I'd encourage you to search for the techniques, but here is a list of the ones that are most useful for a PMO manager, in my experience at least. And today we're going to have a bit of a deeper dive into the most common one, instructional prompting. And that's where you clearly outline the desired output or action. Very, very simple. You're just asking it to do one simple thing. We touch a little bit on in-context learning. And this is where you can adapt the outputs from the AI, tailoring things like communications or guidelines. And there's an example on the screen in front of you. And if we get time, we'll touch on chain of thought prompting as well. This is where you're asking it question after question to kind of root out some great answers for you. But there are more. I won't linger on these, but just so you're aware, there's a whole range of different techniques. So a lot to take in, but don't worry. Even if you just stick to instructional prompting, you're going to get something out of it. And let's have a look at that a bit more.
Okay. So one of the things that I found really useful is just when we're trying to understand what I want to actually have come out of the, in terms of the answers. So you can think about the different kinds of what you're expecting to see, whether it's a list of stuff, whether you're wanting to compare two kinds of things, whether you're wanting things to be summarized, whether you're wanting stuff to be put into a checklist, where you want to see a workflow. So there's a lot of different kind of outputs that you will be able to see when you start to ask questions. So again, just summarizing just some of the things that you would have in terms of an output. Adrian.
Well, getting an output is absolutely key, but you can kind of game it a little bit more. Funnily enough, you can motivate your AI tool to think in the way you really want it to think. And this is called a motivational prompt. And it consists of a role, goal, and benefit. And here's an example of a motivational prompt on the screen before you. This is something you can use before you ask it to do a thing. If we have a look at how you might be able to do that with some other prompts, let's have the next slide if we may. So in this example, we're motivating the AI to think of itself as a project manager in a construction firm. So it knows what it's thinking about, it knows what it's doing, it understands the goals. And then you can ask it to do the next thing. And this is an example of an in-context learning prompt. And here we're asking it to consider these goals, identify potential risks, and so on. And again, by using a motivational prompt, tell it who it is and how it should respond and what's important, and then ask it to do a thing. In this case, the second example is showing something called that chain of thought prompting. As you can see, it's going to ask for an output that makes it think again and again, and you can ask it further questions as it goes on. So just a little tip there. Don't be afraid to tell the AI to think in a particular way, as a project manager, as a senior leader, whatever you may choose, and that will help you out. So one of the things that we mentioned about how you can learn to get good at prompting is you can actually ask the AI to create prompts for you. And this is a little technique that was shown to me by one of the Microsoft CoPilot reps, but it works on any AI tool. And I call it the Harry Potter prompt because it's magic. And this is an instruction you can copy and paste into your tool of choice and help you get some advice on how to design a particular prompt. I'll just give you a moment to read what's on the screen there.
So what I've been doing ever since you showed me this one is it's actually using AI to help you to get better at asking questions. Okay, so essentially what you're doing is posting this as your very first input into the AI, and as you read it, you can see that you're asking it to. I'm going to put a prompt in there. And I want to know about X. Let's just say I want you to just teach me a little bit about management or programs. Yeah. So the course MOP. So can you give me some, some insights that I'll be able to find useful in my job? So when it first comes back, and because you've asked it, so based on my input, it's going to generate two sections. What it starts to then do is ask you further questions. So, what would you like to do with this output? Would you like to generate some training materials to teach somebody else? Would you, like to see this in a really informal way or more academic way? And it is basically asking you to further questions, which you then start to answer. And then each time it comes back with a different prompt. So it builds the prompt, i.e. the question, more and more and more based on the questions that it's asking you. So it's really, really clever. And you just think, well, that's so simple. I didn't even think of that before. But again, what we'll do when we come to show you the interactive bits, we will actually use the Harry Potter prompt and see and show you how it works. But again, it's one of those that you'll think if you're starting to use generative AI and prompt engineering, this is just really, really great at helping you to build up some questions. And again, we'll put those into the chat. I can't copy and paste out of this until I've actually stopped presenting. So I will make sure that you get the prompt as well when we come to do the interactive piece. Okay. So remember that the Harry Potter prompt is going to be the thing that's really going to help you in terms of generating some questions. So let's look at some good instructional prompts then from a project point of view, from a PMO point of view, just to give an example into some of the different areas that we're seeing and working with on a day-to-day basis. And again, these are just some of the different kinds of options, just thinking about some of those doing words about what it is that we want it to do. Do we want it to create something? Do we want to summarize something? Do we want it to list something? Again, we're thinking about the outputs is going to help us to form the question that we're asking it in the first place. So the prompts that you can see there. And of course, you can get AI to actually help you to build some prompts against project status updates, for example. So you would use something like the Harry Potter prompt to help you to come up with some very specific project status update questions just by using that technique as well. So really, it's just, you can carry on iterating and iterating until you're getting into the detail that you really, really need. One of the things that I really love doing with generative AI is just thinking really differently and having a bit of fun with it. And I know if you utilize ChatGPT and its free accounts and stuff, there's always some really interesting prompts in terms of stuff that you can use in your day-to-day life. For example, you've got X amount of ingredients in your cupboard in your fridge. What can I make tonight for tea based on these? It'll do that kind of day-to-day life type stuff. But also you can bring in some other things, which is just thinking differently. So for example, write a process for risk management at a project level, like a recipe card. That'd be interesting. So how is that going to come back? Because it hopefully it would simplify the process, almost give it like a checklist, but make it something different and perhaps easier to read. Again, what about producing the meeting minutes in the style of a checklist? So again, whether you're using recorded minutes of actions from sessions like using Teams or Zoom, but are recording the sessions, you can actually use transcripts, put those into ChatGPT, and then get it to actually come back with your meeting notes, whether it be out in actions or in whatever style that you want. What about for different styles? It's like summarize this business case for a 5-year-old. So we really want to simplify something, and it's like, well, okay, well, let's do that. Like, what's it going to come back with? Might be completely ridiculous, but actually there might be some stuff in there, some insights that'll help you to think about how you might be simplifying communications. What about things like creating a PMO puzzle for an icebreaker on a PMO away day? The other things you can put in there are, just give me examples of a PMO away day set in a meeting room in the year 2050. So what is going to be happening to our industry in 2050? Who knows? But let's see what AI's got to say about that. And again, it might give us some ideas that we can utilize today. So again, it's about being able to have a bit of fun and a bit of being a bit silly with it, because actually, it's about us being able to get different insights. In fact, Adrian and I were talking the other day when we were prepping for this session. I asked Adrian, do you treat your AI, like he said, as a junior member of staff? Does that mean that you say please and thank you when you're asking it prompts and questions? It was funny, wasn't it? Because done some reading about that, and apparently you get get different answers and responses back, based on how polite you might be. So,
Ab- Absolutely. A lot of these models have learnt on information where people have asked a question politely and a human being has responded in a more positive way. So, it's learned that being polite gets better results. So if you're polite to the AI, you might get a better result.
so yeah, remember your P's and Q's. Let's the most important bit for us is actually to see it and to actually utilize it and have a play with it. And this is where you're going to come into it by hoping that you'll get involved in terms of the chat. Now, let's have a look at the first one that we want to play about with. It's a business case, okay? Anybody on here from Leicester City Council, it's your business case. As you know, many public sector documents are available, public, viewing and all the rest of it. So we've got a 139-page business case, and they are about transforming the city in terms of connection. So we've got a big business case here. And if you're just looking from the table of contents that you can see there, it is very much a traditional 5C model. Many of you familiar with the Better Business Cases and the 5C model, you'll probably recognize some of the things that they've got in here. So let's have a look and let's have a bit of a play, shall we? So I want to introduce you to ChatGPT first. And the reason why Adrian's going to come in a little while about this, because he's got a bit of an issue from his side in terms of this business case. Let's get into ChatGPT then. Okay, so what you're looking at is my ChatGPT. I've got Reginald, who's actually the name of my dog, and it's a picture. But I've been training Reginald into being a bit of a casual, friendly PMO expert. So it is a paid account. Not too much. I think it's about $5.99 a month. Obviously, other tools are available, but it does allow me to have something. And if you can see right in the bottom, it says that the House of PMO workspace chats aren't used to train their models, so it's private. Yeah, so it's whatever we're doing in here, it's not going out to feed other chat GPTs that are open to the general public. So for example, we've been allowed to upload the competency framework and the service catalog into this so we can do some stuff around it. So what it does allow me to do, it allows me to upload documents. Okay. So we are going to go with this PDF version of this business case. And what it's doing at the minute is uploading it. So we are now ready to ask it anything that we want to. Okay. Now I want to show you that Harry Potter prompt. I'm going to just bring up a different one where I've done it before. Here is all of those things that we put on there for the Harry Potter prompt. So it's something that I'm keeping. And I want to be able to ask it some questions about this particular business case. So upload that business case again. And we're going to ask it from the Harry Potter prompt, first of all. Okay. Let's have a look at what that looks like. So all of those words that you put up online before, it's coming back and it's saying, what should the prompt be about? Feel free to ask as much detail as you want. What do you want to do? So basically, this is where I'd like your feelings about this. So we've got a business case here. From a PMO point of view, what do we want to ask it? My first thing for this business case is, can you outline the quantitative benefits? I can't spell, but just we'll get it to do it. Yeah, so we've got a massive document and we just want to know what the quantitative benefits are in this business case. Okay, so straight away, it's just giving me some questions. Yeah, so I want to know more about the quantitative benefits for this business case. and it's asking me to come straight back with that it's which bits in particular do you want to know about? Yeah. So I can just say, any of these, it's going to help me prompt what further questions that I might want to ask it. Yeah. So I want to know the quantitative benefits so the PMO can track them all throughout the projects. Yeah.
Sounds good.
So it's revising its prompt. Yeah. So it's basically asking me, it's coming back with a better questions to, okay, so this is the prompt at the minute that based on what you've said you want to do. So you might want to go down into detail about some of the metrics identification. What about some of the tracking and reporting that you're wanting to do? What kind of methods that you might want to do to do that tracking and reporting. So he again is starting to pull out some of those metrics and those numbers. Yeah. If I want to just basically ask it a straight question, which is if I upload that business case again, and I can see the chat about people asking about putting a business case on here. If you remember, I'm using a private chat GPT, okay? But as somebody has also pointed out, these are all in the public domain. Okay, so these are public sector based business cases. If you were to have an enterprise edition within your organization, and let's face it, it probably will come at some point, they are ring fenced. Yeah, so they're not available for anybody else to be able to search against those confidential business documentation. Okay, so again, with ChatGPT now, you can ring fence, it's private, nobody else can use it, which is why it says here at the bottom that it's not used to train their models. So I want to track the quantitative benefits for these projects. Advise how the PMO might do this. Okay. I should be able to sell this. I don't have to write in it 3 times, don't I? But it's just one of those words that just gets me. Okay, so it's going to come back with some advice for the PMO. In terms of what it might start to do, in terms of how we can do some tracking. Yeah, it's quiet a lot. You can see it's just coming back, coming back. You can see how you might want to iterate all the time. So Alan's asking the questions. Can you pick out the current costs? What was it? The current costs and any budgets allocated. Yeah, it's got a lot of uses. You'll start to see it's also giving you nice table forms, even though I've not asked it to. Adrian, how's Gemini and CoPilot doing with this?
Well, I found I had some trouble. So Gemini, which is Google's generative AI tool, in the free to use option doesn't allow me to attach a file. So that means that I don't get the benefit of the AI being able to deep dive into all the information as you've demonstrated over here. I can copy and paste content out from sections of the document and use it in Gemini. But one of the things I do in the workplace, of course, is I use CoPilot. And we've got it set up as an enterprise option. CoPilot is available to use for free as a web version as well, and you can attach files. But there's limitations when you're using anything for free, file size and complexity of the file, all sorts of problems like that. So I think what you're showing there is the best example of what generative AI can do when it can really chew into a file you provide it that's large and complex, like a business case.
You see, if I had to refresh, sometimes it can get a bit icky sticky. So again, I'm just trying to think of different things that I might want to do in terms of the PMO, in terms of the support we can be providing for these projects as they're going through.
What
Um,
always amazes me is the pace in which it's doing this.
yeah.
It is incredible, just the time that's being saved potentially.
So the other thing, but when we were looking at this business case, it'd be quite interesting from a PMO point of view, when we receive a business case, to do a quick analysis perhaps of how good that business case is based on good practice, yeah, best practice. It's still winging its way through here. It's got quite a lot to say. But what about if we, how does this business case stack up against the 5C model, 5C model best practice? Yeah, so if we're getting things through in the PMO, we might want it to just do a quick, okay, so how is it doing in terms of, our best practice to our project managers and deliveries now in terms of what people are going to be using? So for example, if we have got a certain process, certain templates, whatever that might be, we can upload those kind of things into ChatGPT, again, the private version, and then we can get it to compare against some of the best practice that we might already have in place. Yeah, so with this, again, it's running out a little bit in terms of the chat GPT. What I've done really previously, just in case it started doing this, I've asked it to how well is this business case put together when comparing to the 5C model, and it's given me, the 5Cs, and it's given us some, some quick. Yes, it's doing okay. It's actually quite a well-written business case. So I've said, is there any areas that might need improving then? And actually, it then comes back and suggests some of the things that might be missing from this business case, which again, is useful from a PMO point of view to not only help us think about, well, actually, do we give that advice? Do we use these kind of things? Does that business case template need updating? Does our guidance, do our training on these things need to be changed? So again, it allows us to, have something that's asking or thinking differently that is then obviously helping us to think about how we might change. And then I'm asking it the question here is, how best can the PMO use this business case throughout the delivery of projects? And again, it's coming with some action points and things that the PMO might want to be looking at. And I thought, well, there's quite a lot of stuff there as well. And then I thought, well, actually, can you create a checklist for so it's created a business case utilization checklist for PMOs based on looking at that business case model that is best practice and the one that's already been completed. So we know that, yes, here's how it should be done, but also here is what some of the things that weren't done that could be improved on the existing business case that somebody's done. And then it started to create checklists, which again, really easy to and simple to copy and paste and to utilize as you might want to. Yeah. So again, pretty straightforward in terms of being able to ask it questions using different prompts, getting it to think differently about what you want to see in there. And I think the really interesting thing for me with this particular one as well is you know that this is a business case that was running in 2019. Yeah. I just want to put it up one more time is to show you well what's happened to the project because it's now 2024. Yeah. So what's happened? Um, has this project been successful? Have the benefits been delivered? We find out and see what it does. Yes, it's starting to summarize. Now, what it's actually doing here, it's actually gone back out onto the web and starting to pull off City of Leicester Council because they've had to update their public reports. So they've got all the data that they're putting out there in terms of, and they put a lot out there. It's project status reports, lots and lots of different things, is available through their website. So what ChatGPT is doing is going to that website and finding this particular project and where are we now today, in terms of the current update, in terms of how this project's come out. Yeah. So again, it's fascinating in terms of what it can do literally at a click of a button. So that's the business case one. So let's have a look at Copilot and Gemini now, because I wanted to show you just, I was going to bring up the next example. So we've just uploaded a document there. So that were a really nice example in terms of being able to utilize a project document. But one of the things we talked about with PMO and why this is a particularly great thing to be using is that people don't want to start with a blank page, because blank page thinking can take a while.
Mm.
And actually, we don't need to start with a blank piece of paper anymore, because we've got something like ChatGPT or Gemini or Copilot to help us with that blank piece of paper problem. So this one's about creating a risk management workshop. So I want Adrian this time to let us see what Copilot can do for us. And while he's doing that, I'm going to be doing it on ChatGPT, but he's going to be showing yours live. Now, what we would really love is a question to help us. We've got to create a risk management workshop. Okay. We want it to be something that's different, something that really engages people. It's not the bog standard, maybe run of the mill kind of risk management workshop that we know and love. Is there anybody there now with a question that we could put in to help get us started and getting it over this blank piece of paper problem? Does anybody want to get into chat and ask a question? So this is a question about creating a really great risk management workshop that perhaps is going to really engage the project team and kick off a project in a really, really great way. Yeah? Anybody? Into chat with your question. Super.
Oh, bated breath now.
Create a risk management workshop based on a superhero theme. Why not simply ask to create a chat that nobody has seen before? Sorry, a workshop that nobody's seen before. Love that. That's good. Adrian, are you going to bring up your screen?
Yeah. So, shall we try Gemini or Copilot?
I don't know. Don't know either of them very well, so you go.
Let's try Gemini.
The
So,
one that suffers the
as we
least hallucinations.
oh,
Sam
hard to
watched him.
say.
Right.
So this is one that's freely available. So this is a free version. I'm not putting any sensitive or confidential information into this. I'm just asking it to help create something. So what was the superhero one?
Go for it.
Create a risk management workshop based on a superhero theme. Okay, let's try that. Create. Can you all see my screen all right, I hope?
Yeah.
One of the wonderful things about these tools is I like a number of people have a element of dyslexia, and it is very forgiving of the spelling mistakes I make or when I mix words up. So that can really make a big difference, I think, for a lot of people. So I'm just I've popped in the prompt just as is. Let's see what it does for us. Now it's picked up on the tone, hasn't it, really, of superheroes. Assemble risk management superhero workshop, workshop agenda, hero headquarters, welcome participants, and do an icebreaker. Well, that's good practice, isn't it? Suit up, identifying risks, do a bit of a brainstorm, hero training, discuss different risk identification methods, and it gives some actual best practice examples there. And then we've got X-ray vision, assessing risks. So some engagement, participants are analysing. I'm reading this as live, by the way. I've not seen this before, so this is totally raw. Mitigation strategies. What is the point of doing risk if you're not thinking what to do about them? It's picking up on these best practices, even with our silly example. And again, as I scroll down, hopefully you can see it. It's giving me a structure and approach. But best of all, with this particular tool, it gives you free versions for you to choose from. Draft 1 is the one we've just looked at. There's a draft 2 and a draft 3 as well, which will all be subtly different. So one of the advantages of this particular tool is those multiple drafts. Some of the disadvantages is, and certainly in this free version, I can attach images, but I can't upload files, even if I'm the file owner and totally safe and secure about what I would be uploading. Still can't do it. So that's Gemini for you. What do you think, Lindsay?
Not bad, not bad, but I think ChatGPT still got it for me.
Different tools do better at different things. And that is kind of a real takeaway to think about. Think about the functionality, do a little quick research into what you're going to use, and what your organization can support you in using as well. And you'll find the right tool for your needs, I'm sure.
I just want to show you what ChatGPT's been up to. So I've been using the Harry Potter prompt while you've been talking away, and I've created this one here, and it's given me a number of different questions that came back, like, how old are the people? What kind of content do you want? All that kind of stuff. So this is my prompt here, this big one here at the top, and this was about 3 or 4 iterations. And then I've just put at the end is like, give it a superhero theme, and so take into account all of these other things. So then it comes back straight away with the heroes of the PMO assemble. And again, just got some really nice things in terms of like the pre-event setup, what your agenda might be. I wanted some sessions, I wanted some techniques. So this is a one here, villain challenges for 45 minutes, present common project management challenges as villains, scope creeper, budget booster, etc. And then we've got some gamification type stuff in there. I wanted something that was upbeat, that energetic, something that was quite different. So it's coming back with different techniques. Now, what I would probably say when I do a lot of this kind of stuff, and I'll say some of them might come back and they're a bit cheesy. So I keep asking it to give me more examples, and I can just literally just give me some, typing after the end of this. It's give me more examples that I could use, or, can you just change that hands-on activity hero labs, for example, to have a different kind of scenario, or I might want to use a different kind of tooling or whatever it might be. But it comes back and it's giving me like loads of things to think about in terms of, not only actually really running it, but also the prep that you need before, during, and after. So yeah, it looks really cool. And then think what I'd probably do with this, if I were actually going to do something that was superhero related, I would take these kind of insights and I'd shove that through into something called Mid-Journey, which is where you can probably see it on my toolbar up here at the top. I could then use some imagery to go with this kind of thing to catch people's attention. But that's another thing for another day. But yeah, that's really, really cool. I like that. More cheese. Yeah, definitely. So one of the things that I'm conscious we've got about 12 minutes left. We wanted to look at the project status reports. Let's bring that up and show you that one in terms of what that kind of data is. And again, it is really great public sector information that's out there, freely available, but you can have a play with for this. So this is now York City Council, and they have got classic a classic here for everybody, which is a number of major projects that they've got running. So there's the high level. Those are all the projects that they've got running to date. And you can see that they do their project status reports. There should be nothing in there that doesn't look familiar. in terms of doing a project status report. Now, bear in mind that these are a number of different projects. So we have got, in essence, a portfolio here, which is it's just pretty good. So my question to you is, what would you think about writing or wanting to know if you had got, and I have, again, we've got the file for this, all of those projects, and these are the kind of information that you're getting out to it. So standard project support reports. Adrian, what does CoPilot do?
Well, I was thinking about what I'd use it for. How could I save time? That's quite a lengthy document, and for Copilot, Gemini, ChatGPT, it's not only reading the text, it's got to think about the colors that have been used, the fact that things are in tables, and some of these tools will do better than others. But let me share my screen and show you what I would use it for in the first instance. So the first thing I do is, for Copilot, I think would be my tool of choice, is I'd use Copilot to help me summarize what the many, many projects in this report are about. So I could just have a quick bullet list of what they all cover, what they're trying to deliver, and I'd feed it the report. So you can see I've attached the report, and I've listed out the projects as well, because I really want it to understand the context of what I'm asking it to do. So I'm really trying to channel its thinking into giving me that summary. So let's see if it works. And while it's ticking over, one of the other things I think Copilot is, it's worth knowing about Copilot, is if you're using it in your organization, you can have it as a protected tool. In other words, the information is securely held. It's not training the language model and such like. I'm using the web option here. In my organization, we have an additional level of service which we can use at work, which is a little bit more powerful, but I wanted to show you what it would look like on the web version. And look, it's analyzing the file. Now, remember, I've listed out all the projects in my prompt. So consequently, it's looking for the project name multiple times. So you're getting analyzing the file multiple times as it's going through. So I know it's being very thorough. And it's taking a few moments. Not as quick as ChatGPT, I noticed, Lindsay.
I've asked a question, which projects are not on track? And it's just
What
called,
was that?
which projects are currently not on track?
Oh, well, let's get this one. Let's get this answer out first, and then I'll ask it that very, very important question.
If you notice as well, when we were showing you what the reports include, they've also got links to other papers and other things, which again, they've got URLs within them. So certainly the AI can then go back and look at other things as well. So it's not just the one thing that you update, that you're putting into ChatGPT, for example. It is going out onto the web to find them. Yeah. So these status reports are March 2024, April 2024. So they really are quite current. You got
It's
any?
going quite slow for me today, isn't it? Normally it goes a little bit faster. This may be something to do with the fact that I've got lots of applications open on my laptop. Who knows?
While we're waiting, then there you go. I just uploaded that report and just said which projects are not on track. So straight away you can just zoom into wherever you might want to look a little bit more in more detail. What else would you want to know? The project status report across a portfolio like that.
Well, quite often I'd be thinking about what's going to be most important to a senior management audience, Lindsay. I'd be wanting to pull out any red rag risks and such like to make sure it's on their radar. I might also ask for any recommendations the uh, the tool I'm using might have to address any of the issues or risks identified. Get it to do.
There you go. So from this red, so again, we're doing it in a iteration. So because we've already uploaded the document at the top, asked it a question about the red projects, it's then carrying on. So it's almost like you're having a conversation with it. It's not like you have to keep restating the questions and stuff. It is for each instance. If you can see mine on the left-hand side here today, it's each instance. So if you want to go to a fresh kind of prompting, you use a fresh one, but otherwise you're carrying on. So you can see here that it's starting to pull out some things, which again, really interesting, isn't it, when you consider how much information is in this? Is it possible to know what has changed since the last report? Let's have a look. What has changed since the last report on these projects? Yeah, there you go. No changes. Yeah, you would give it 2 reports. It is got two, it's got March and April within it. I wonder if, can you find the current status as of today? Current status. So they've updated the reports because they're obviously online otherwise. Or is it? Adrian, could it be hallucinating?
It
How do
could
we
be.
how do we check that it's just made that up?
Well, one of the things I found really helpful is you ask it, just like you would a member of staff if they're presenting something to you, have you checked this? Or how have you checked this? But if you asked ChatGPT to check your answer, please, let's see what it does.
Telling you what it's done. Here you go. There's the links. Current meeting minutes and stuff. Clever. There. Oh, I do love it. Is anybody else like completely like just
I,
totally
I
against it?
would always say, even when you ask it to check, that
Yeah.
doesn't get you off the hook from checking yourself. So I always make sure I go and check myself as well. I wouldn't just take its word for it. And that's part of our responsibilities of using these tools, really, isn't it? We are ultimately accountable for whatever we use from them. So we just better be certain that it's right.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Let it be where they're born in. But in terms of where we are, we've just got a few minutes left. We knew we were pushing this because we knew there were a lot here.
Well, Copilot's done its thing if you want a quick look.
Um, so just to wrap up really quickly, so regardless of whether you're using AI or not, every PMO professional needs to be able to ask a good question. Hopefully you agree with that. And actually, there is a lot out there already in terms of being able to specifically prompt engineering. There's some things that PMI have already been doing, which is something, if you're a member there, you can get of the PMI Infinity. But they've also got a free thing that you can do, which is Generative AI overview for project managers. If you enjoy using things like websites like Coursera, they've got a lot of different things on there in terms of short courses that can help you, get into the prompt engineering, or even just LinkedIn ones, because again, there's a load of stuff out there again, in terms of places you could go to be able to get better, as we said, learn and practice doing this kind of stuff. We have got a lot of things that we've shared in here in terms of the kind of details, like the Harry Potter prompt and all of that kind of good stuff. Adrian, can you just drop that into chat, please?
I will do.
Harry Potter prompt, and also the link to the PMO expert that you shared, please. There's a request for that as well.
Absolutely. No worries. Give me a moment.
We obviously recording this. We have got the decks here. I think it's one of those sessions where you actually just want to like get into the decks and have a look at some of the things that we were utilizing. But I say, if nothing else, the Harry Potter prompt is the really help you. Use AI to help you get better at asking questions. It is an eye opener. If you remember, House of PMO, we've been talking about taking initial steps in AI for PMO and project management. There are a lot of things out there that felt too advanced. It's just we're not there yet for a lot of people. We hope that the prompt engineering and the kind of entry into generative AI feels usable. Yeah, it feels like it's something that you can understand. But we carry on in our journey in different elements around AI, generative AI, any other kinds that you want. But we will be back with more sessions, but hopefully from today, you found it really, really useful. Adrian, it's been a pleasure to do the session with you. I've
Thank
learned a lot from what it is that you're doing. How are you using it at work? How are you finding it at the department?
it's always fun to try new things out, but the important thing is you've got to give yourself time to learn. And myself and my colleagues are thankfully investing enough time to be able to learn, practice, try things out, and being able to get some good results from it, even in these early stages as this technology developments. So it's good. Yeah, and thank you for the opportunity to join you today.